So it's about a quarter to noon, and I'm trying to squeeze in two shows today. The first thing is an opening. Well, it's a record label launch at an art gallery on the other side of Windsor. Um, I'm gonna have to crunch some numbers and see how far it really is, how long it will take to get back downtown, etc. Um, it looks like an early show, maybe around. It's gonna start around 5. So if it's gonna be done a little earlier, I can hopefully get over to Detroit to see Pop 1280, which is kind of um, it's that point where no wave and industrial kind of met. So when I use the term industrial nowadays, it gives off impressions that are very different than it used to. So it's just kind of more in the vein of an early fetus, skinny puppy, swans. That point where industrial and punk were more intertwined. So it's a bit heavier, a bit punkier. Um, I have at least figured out that that band is not headlining tonight, or at least is not playing last, which is useful information. And it's actually good for me because I'm going to need to catch the bus back, right? So, um, that means I won't be playing last. That means that uh, it's not going to be too late. Looking at the bar opens at 9, and there's actually 4 bands on the bill. So I don't know if Pop 1280 is going to be first or third. That's kind of the problem, right? So I'm going to wait a little bit. I'm going to get something to eat. Hopefully I have a little bit more information to play with. If I can get set lists at the different shows that I can try. So that went out. I'm not sure when it went out. I need to be more careful or more cognizant of that. So yeah, I figured out at least the right ordering. I'm pretty sure that the band I want to see in the art gallery in Windsor is a little earlier. We'll see how all that works out. Right now, I'm gonna get something to eat. I'll come back later. Hopefully, I might get a little bit more information I can play with. If not, I don't know. I'm gonna have to just kind of figure that out and go from there. The weather is. I'm gonna get a little bit wet. That looks pretty clear, but it doesn't look too bad. I think it'll be okay. Oh, okay. In fact, it seems like the device just froze. As though it got zapped by something. Um, might that have something to do with why I was coughing? I don't even know if that segment's going to show up. I may have just lost about a minute and a half. It was nothing of real consequence, but the device just like froze on me there. Um, it was very strange. What was? See, I started coughing, and then the device froze, and like I said, I've been dealing with weird interference patterns down here. You gotta wonder, huh? Anyways, um, about a minute and a half there. I was pointing out that he's doing a report on the MH17 in the Ukraine. He's no doubt going to come up with some, false flag or some psyop or something to prepare us for some distant disaster or something, right? Um, and I don't know how much of this I'm going to end up watching. We'll find out, how he approaches this. I haven't watched it. I don't really know exactly what he's going to say. I just wanted to point out that, from my perspective, there really isn't a good narrative here regarding this takedown. What the State Department has come up with is like, children scribbling crayons on paper. It's just the level of discourse is just brutal. It's not even worth debunking. It's so bad. And what the Russians are putting out to counter it is not any better in any way. So it's nonsense. Going back and forth over nonsense. Is there really anything worthwhile to pull out of there? There probably isn't. he'll no doubt pull out some different conspiracy sources, insiders, or like retired generals, as though a retired general is an unbiased source, right? Um, and whatever other things he can string together. But I'm going to provide an intuitive a hypothesis that is very different than anything anybody said, but is at least shown to be feasible by some of the maneuvers we've seen in the Caspian Sea over the last several years. It seems like it was a missile that took the plane down. Um, Not the kind of missile that the crazies in the Ukraine could use, and probably not the kind of missile that an American plane would have or would want to use. Why would the Americans shoot a the premise doesn't even make any sense, right? Um, but the Russians may not have wanted people to know. Um, See, the hypothesis I'm working on is actually that neither the Russians nor the Americans wanted people to know what really happened, um, which was most likely a takedown as part of some kind of a missile defense system. That's what I was able to, and that's what it looked like to me. Um, That's an area that the United States has been trying to build an SDI in for a long time. It connected with missile sites in Latvia that are trying to come up. Whether it was an accident or not is hard to say. I'm just speculating. But that would be my guess. Is that you had some kind of some kind of a missile ship launcher in the Black Sea off the coast of Turkey, and they essentially set off a cruise missile from that ship, and it took the plane down. Perhaps as a part of a testing, um, you know, um, and perhaps just accidentally. The reason I say that it's backed up slightly by some of the maneuverings that the Russians have been doing is if you've been paying attention to the ISIS thing, the Russians have been launching, like ICBMs from the Caspian Sea and hitting targets in Syria. It's very impressive, and certainly meant to send a message. Um, How much that has to do with the MH17 coming down, who knows? Or whether it's just a proof of concept. I think that that's the right way to think about this. Is that it does appear to have been a missile, but the missile probably came from a ship somewhere. And well, there's not really any reason to suggest the Americans were more or less likely. I think that putting it in a broader context is pointing towards an SDI. But I mean, this is just intuition, purely speculative. There's not a shred of evidence pointing that way. Really, all the evidence points towards is that both of the major governments involved are completely full of shit regarding this particular concern. Looks like we got some cheese wrapper action here, and the cheese wrapper is wrapping into the garbage. So I went out to get some bus tickets and a flask, the purpose of which will become clear as the night goes on. And it's definitely cooler than I'd like it to be, but it's navigable. I think that the purpose of the day is going to be more about just stumbling around. This is actually an area of Windsor I've never been to before. It's up near the university. It's just it's the other side of town. Actually, that's not true. I'm in the middle of town, so it's the east side of town. I've only been here, I have 2.5 years, so there's lots and lots of places in the broader metropolitan area that I've not been anywhere near. Because I really haven't had any reason to be anywhere outside of where I need to get food or where I need to go to a show. So this is the first time I'm going out there. It's an art gallery, um, meaning that I'll have to check that out when I get there. And that's really kind of more the point of this. I don't know how long I'll stay. Like I said, I still need to crunch some numbers. Um, Unfortunately, it seems like everybody wants to take a shower at the same time, so I'm gonna have to wait a little bit for the hot water to come back. Um, you know, they need to get a second tank, and it's as simple as that. But it's 2 o'clock. I'm not gonna need to get out of here until 4, maybe 5. So I got a little bit. I got a few hours for the water to come back, anyways, and hopefully it does. Otherwise, it's gonna be a gross shower when I take it. Ah! So, the whole thing just got flipped around the other way. They initially had the show at the Windsor show set for 5, which was early. But you think, well, it's at an art gallery. If the show starts at 5, then, maybe it's done early because they gotta be out early or whatever else, right? But they changed the start time to 7. And I know that Pop 1280, which is a band honestly in Detroit, is on early too. So instead of going to Detroit, instead of going to the Windsor thing and then going to Detroit after, which no longer makes any sense because I'd have to, if the show starts at 7, I'd have to leave there at 9:30, which means I wouldn't, there's no chance I'm going to be able to get to see what I wanted to see. But if I go to Detroit first, and the show is early enough, then I might get home on time to go see Luge afterwards at the gallery. So that's what I'm tentatively hoping to do. I don't know. I mean, it depends, right? I'm waiting to see what time they expect the show to be done at, which is the other question, right? Because if I do get back in Windsor at 12, and I can get from there to the spot by, a few minutes after 12, then I can maybe catch it, right? If not, then I won't. Here's the thing. I'll probably try it one way or the other because it's not such a big deal. If I don't catch it, then I'll just hop on the bus. It's a 10-minute ride, and I'm good to go from there. So, total flip reversal. What that means is that now I don't have to be out of here until, if I catch the 8 o'clock bus, I'll be early. So, I don't really need a shower until 5 or 6. So, and I'm gonna give myself some space to let the water come back. So, total flip around, but it's better in the long run. The identity politics narrative on Hillary won't go away. They express bafflement at women not voting based on identity. Then they try to explain it away using more identity politics. If only she was gay. If she was only black. Just stop. How about if only she was liberal? It's not hard. Really. Female liberals respond poorly to Clinton because Clinton is not very liberal. It's the same reason that male liberals respond poorly to Clinton. The takeaway is that Clinton tends to do poorly with liberals, which is neither surprising nor is it new. You want to control? Here's your experiment. Do this study. Ask female voters that have picked Sanders over Clinton about their opinion of Elizabeth Warren, a white, female, liberal. You'll see your arguments fall apart as Warren dominates Clinton and probably beats Sanders amongst women. Yeah, so I've got everything worked out, and it's almost impossible for me to get back in time to see the other show unless the band that I want to see in Detroit plays first, basically. But I'm planning for that band to come on around 11, which means I get back probably a little after midnight, and it'll just be too late. If something does happen to work out and I end up getting back there, then, but it's exceedingly unlikely. I'm planning for it nonetheless, but it's not going to happen. So, I'm getting ready to head out. Well, actually, I'm gonna take a shower and then get ready to head out. But I'm getting all the things I need ready to go, and I'll be out in a few hours. Always did look better in black. Okay, so I'm just about out the door. I just got a sweater on, and that's it. I'm out. Okay, so I'm now good to go. Good to go. Last time I did this, we decided that my goal was going to be to not have any cigarettes. I wasn't really serious about it at the time. And I think it was largely because I forgot about the blood clot thing. I need to be actually serious about that this time. I don't know how clear I was about this before, but I'm taking 6 milligrams of estrogen a day. Birth control is on the order of 100 micrograms, or even less than that. So I'm taking thousands times more than somebody on birth control would take. So the risk factor is that much higher. Do I think it's really a serious concern? I have a hard time getting my head around it. But it's certainly more than, it's more of a concern than somebody on birth control would have. So, just keeping that in mind, it's not frivolous. It's legit, right? So, I need to actually really be much more seriously conscious of this time. I was thinking about this. I was gonna put some quarters in my pocket because that's my trick, right? Is I don't want to buy a pack of cigarettes, so can you sell me one for 50 cents? And most people will do that if they can. But I don't want to do that tonight. And I want to be really serious about stating that. There is some possibility I may crack, but I'm putting this down here like this in video form because I want myself to be serious, or to understand the seriousness of blood clots with estrogen and nicotine. That was the reason I quit. Lots of other reasons I could have, but that was the thing that actually did it. That was the thing that really made me stop. And I need to keep reminding myself of that when I'm going out. That said, I'm not going to hide under a pillow for the rest of my life either. I have to live, and I'm going to. It'll be tough for a little while, but I got to get over that. And learn to live with it. So that's my goal tonight. Is no cigarettes at all. And we'll see how well I'm able to actually hold on to that this time. Again, last time it was more just I quit smoking for a long time, and I think it was, it would have been over 5 weeks cold turkey. And now at almost 7 weeks, with those 3 that I had that one day. It's the only time I've cracked in 7 weeks. So, let's stick to it, and let's get on with it, and let's be serious about it this time. No smoking tonight. I'm gonna hold to that. So I'm back up on Michigan, walking up the same strip that I was walking up the other night. There's a bus station back there. I am not going to the same bar. I'm going to a bar that's a couple of blocks down the road. It's actually right across the street from the old Tiger Stadium. And it is a bar that baseball players, very old famous baseball players, apparently used to frequent. It was the, well, like I said, it's right across the street from the old Tiger Stadium. So one of the people that's rumored to have spent a lot of time in this bar is Babe Ruth. We'll see it when it comes up. All that's left of the old Tiger Stadium is a giant field. But I mean, I've got to go over the freeway as before, and it's a few streets up. Maybe I'll get some of that in, but my hands are cold right now, so I'm gonna put this away. Sorry, there were some people that wanted to get in my shot, so I'm gonna redo that. As we can see, this is the old Tiger Stadium right there, and it's too bad it's dark because there's like nothing left. There's like not even like the remnants of bleachers or anything. It's just like honestly a field behind a fence. That's it. It's like it was never even there. The only remnants of it are a couple of the bars up and down the street here, including, like I said, this one, which was known back in the day as a baseball player watering hole. Nowadays, it's taken over the title of a famous London psych bar, and it kind of attempts to be that in this little hole in the side of a glacier here. But that's what's going on tonight. It's just before 9. I got until 12:30 at the latest, but it's not going to be close to that, I don't think. So the first band seemed to literally be, can you see me through this? Whoa. The first band seemed to literally be Muzak covers of recognizable songs with a particular emphasis on Lou Reed. I don't know why you even like book a band like that. It's ridiculous. Anyways. Second band is done. That's the second time I've seen that band. The first time I saw them open for Oneida in 2014, they seemed a little aimless at the time, like they weren't really connecting properly yet. It seemed like it was in infancy stages. It seemed like they had to maybe tighten up a little bit. Tonight it seemed like maybe they had tightened up a little too much. But the last track that they did was maybe a little bit closer to the potential that I thought I heard them play a little bit a few years ago. I acknowledge I left a little early. They were clearly off tonight. Singer missed. Like he screwed up their hit single. Well, it wasn't a hit single. It was a released single, anyways. But I mean, he screwed up the lead track. So I don't know what's up with that. But they weren't. They were late. It was kind of a comedy of errors. So I'm out of here. And it's not. It's not remotely worth missing the bus for, so I think it's more important that I get to the bus, and I'm out of here. So it's about 12:57, and I'm at the bus stop with about 10 minutes, a little bit more than that to spare. I mean, I could have stayed an extra 10 minutes. Do I regret that? In fact, I don't. I may even regret coming at all. They just weren't good. I've stated this before, like I don't mind missing the bus if it's worth it, It's leaving early isn't like an old person thing. It's just a pragmatic necessity that I need to catch the bus, and if I don't, then I'm stuck here for hours, or I can pay, it's about $100 to get across. You wanna maybe I can set up a GoFundMe, to get me across the border every night. It's a day's pay at at the most optimistic of circumstances. So I mean, like it's just not worth it, right? So, um, but I mean, it has to be worth it, right? And I actually I left early because it just wasn't. You know, the tracks that they did that were good, but they seem to want to move back to this kind of like slower movement, kind of like it almost sounded like they wanted to do like a Manson routine, and that to me is just like it's. See, don't misunderstand me here. It's not like doing Manson is bad because it's Manson. It's doing Manson is bad because it's Manson. Like I really don't know what anybody ever found appealing about Manson. And so when I hear a band trying to sound like Manson, I don't get like excited. I get really revolted. It's like it's it's as bad as like doing a Backstreet Boys cover or something. You know, like it's just it's not taboo because it's a sacred cow. It's taboo because it's awful. You know, so like I'm sorry. It's just it's um I'll be honest. I don't think I have actually never heard a Manson record all the way through. Um, like honestly, like I know Manson as the guy that did the Eurythmics cover, and that's probably best. That's what he's best remembered as, the guy that did the Eurythmics cover. Um, that did the Eurythmics cover badly. To be frank, so um, it's not so when I get that vibe, when I get this, this is a this is a commercial goth thing, I get really frustrated. I think it's partly because of the amount of interest that I have in the genre underneath it, being a huge Skinny Puppy fan, and a fan of other things of the sort, that when I see people trying to ape that specific sound, I don't want to say I get mad. It's that I get very quickly disinterested. This band was interesting to me for the precise reason that they were transcending that. They were getting outside of this kind of commercialized industrial sound and focusing more on the roots of it, which made it seem a little bit more pure. But when they start falling back into this commercialized sound, I it chased me out of the room, to be frank. So, like I say, I'll stay late for a band if I think it's worth it. I'll miss the bus. I have missed the bus, and you will see me miss the bus over and over again, based on that. And I'll bitch about it. I'll say the bus should run later. I'll say there should be a pedestrian walk because I don't want to take the bus at all. Like I want to walk home. That would be great if I could just walk home. Instead of have to stand here, there's a bunch of people with guns standing in front of a border saying you have to sit on a bus. It would be nice if I could just walk home. That would be great. But I will miss the bus if it's worth it. This was not worth it. That's the simple, actual reality. I got frustrated and I left. The couple of tracks they did that were good though. I don't want to take that away from them. It's just I wish they would be focusing on the aspect of their sound that's less commercial. Of course, by definition, that's harmful to themselves. When I say I wish you would focus on the part of your sound that sells less, that gets less of a response. It's easy to see why I'm gonna get laughed at, but it's the reality of it. If you want to go for that fan base, that's not me. Sorry. Maybe it's preferable to you. It's certainly not something that I'm into though. So I walked out early. Sorry. I said it was gonna be 10 minutes. It's been 6 minutes since I've been ranting, so the bus should be here fairly soon. I'm gonna put this away. Can you see me in the reflection there? It was a slightly shitty night, so I'm getting a pizza. Hopefully that at least resolves part of it. I should be home in, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. I'm just around the corner from my place. I do kind of wish I would have stayed home. I'm not really going to pontificate on it too much. It was just not exactly my thing, that's all. But I'm going to eat a pizza. Pizza makes everything better. and I'll be home soon. So yeah, I'm home. I'm completely sober. I had 4. See, this is what happens when I only have alcohol. I had 4 beers and I'm completely sober. Um, I wish I never went. They weren't very good. I'm not blaming anyone. It would have been nice if I didn't have to sit through 2 opening bands that weren't very good either. But that's how the system works. I need to be more conscious of this. I pointed this out a few months ago. Um, Actually, it would have been about a year ago now. When I went to go see Adonis, and they just weren't very good. And I remember thinking, I need more, strenuous about, going across the border because, like, it used to be if I wanted to go see a band and they sucked, then it was $5, and a few dollars, and an hour of my time. If I go to see a band in Detroit and it sucks, then it's like I waste the whole night and it's like $50. So it's a big difference, and I need to be just a lot more strenuous. The record's good. Don't get me wrong, and the songs they did that were good were good. It's just they were clearly trying to tap into something, and it's hard to blame them. They're tapping into something because what they were doing something that I liked and it didn't work. So they changed, and now they're doing something that more people will like, and that by definition I don't. So I mean, you can't, you know, they can try to straddle a line. They're just gonna isolate both sides of things. If you want that like hyper commercial Manson sound, then you're gonna isolate people that want more of an underground sound. And if you want more of an underground sound, then you're gonna isolate the people into the hyper commercial stuff. There is no crossover there. I think people have been trying to find a crossover there for decades, and there isn't one, because it's by definition the crossover between the underground and mainstream. It's just, I think a lot of people don't realize it. They don't realize that like Marilyn Manson was a mainstream pop artist, because they have such a twisted concept of what pop is. It's like he was a mainstream pop artist that marketed himself as a fake underground artist, and the fact that he marketed himself that way pisses people off. And that's what I was getting at. Just like people get so mad, I'm in that group of people that just gets livid because it's trash and it's fake trash. And like I say, this band was more interesting because they seem to be a little bit more in tune to where it came from. But then they seem to be shedding that and aligning with the fake trash, and like we all need to feed ourselves. It's hard to be too critical, but it's not my thing, and I had to get out. I'm sorry. As I said before, like I will stay. I guess isn't like I'm an old person thing. I have stayed. I will stay. You will see me stay late and do overnights and miss the bus. It's gonna happen. It's just it has to be worth it. And tonight I wanted to get home. I got a pizza. I don't want it to get cold, so I'm gonna tend to it. Um, and I'm glad I'm home. And like I say, unfortunately, I have to say it. I don't want to have to say it, but unfortunately, I kind of wish I'd stayed home. Sorry. And how did I do with the smoking? I did have one, which is one more than I wanted, but a lot better. It was the temperature, actually. I was hanging out outside for a different reason. I don't feel it was the cigarettes that had me relapse. And I don't even want to call it a relapse, it's a break. I don't feel it was the alcohol. I really feel it was mostly temperature related. I would have been okay hanging out outside, but I needed a reason to hang outside in the cold. So, but one cigarette is not bad. Went from 3 to 1, and hopefully it's 0 next time. It's that's a positive draw to build on, I think, rather than freak out myself. Let's look at the bright side. like I say, it's one more than I wanted, but it was only one. So let's let this build on. See, this is a problem. The way he's dealing with the MH17 here. He is correctly looking at the data the U.S. is providing and being very, very skeptical of it, and suggesting it's unreliable and everything else, and I'm with him on all that. That's the correct way to look at it. But then he looks at the Russian data and he completely uncritically accepts the radar and everything they're saying. It's inconsistent. To be extremely critical of the evidence the Americans are providing, and be essentially uncritical. I have yet. The truth is, I have yet to see James Corbett say anything at all critical about any information provided by any Russian source. I'm sure if you have a counterexample, great. Maybe the world would like to see it. I'm sure one exists, but I've yet to see it. And this is just another example of it. And I'll be honest, this is actually a trap that I've fallen into myself, because the Russians seem to be a little bit more um, uh, in line with following international law and everything else. To me, that facade broke with the um, with the Crimea seizure, not because they seized Crimea, but because they said they weren't, and they did. And that was, to me, a credibility issue, and to me, that's when that broke. Not that I was ever as uncritical as he is, but I mean, I was certainly willing to suggest or willing to accept that perhaps the Russian sources were, a little bit better. They're not. They're not in any way. So, when the Russians, they present the satellite data, you need to ask the same questions. Where did the satellite data come from? Can you prove it? Can you demonstrate your claims and all these sorts of things, which he doesn't do. He never does. He's properly critical with the American information. He asks all the right questions and everything else, but then when the Russian stuff comes up, it's just like total free pass, right? And I think that it's the reason why so much of this stuff comes up so warped. Not just him, but in general. It does end up as Russian propaganda, even if it's not intended to be, because you're accepting the Russian propaganda. The truth is that you need to take the Russian stuff as skeptically as the American stuff. Where did this? We have no way to corroborate that the radar is what the radar says, or anything the Russians are saying at all about the Ukrainian military or anything like this, right? All we can do is point out that there's differing stories. Try to find. It makes more sense to try to find consistencies across both of them than it does to try to find inconsistencies, and just point out that it's all nonsense both ways. You're really not getting anywhere by doing this. But it is. I mean, this was one of the more egregious examples that I've heard. He was really, really, really brutal on the American stuff, and he should have been, because it was brutal. And it had to come down on, or be come down on like that. But there was no scrutiny at all on the Russian stuff, and it's really quite unfortunate.